you once again for joining us here at the European LCS Semifinals, guys. You can see the crowd is still all the way up in the energy level.
Hype for Lee Sin.
Oh, yes.
More Lee Sin.
More Lee Sin. That's what they're asking.
That's what we need. That's not what we need.
That's not what Huni needs.
Fnatic. I mean, the other 4 picks are great for them because it's the style they like to play. Very pick, very skirmish focused. We saw how Steelbike played very aggressive in the lane despite losing in farm. He kept going for the trades here. And then that opened up for Fairbairn to roam down and potentially get a few kills on a tower dive. Problem is just, well, they keep picking in the top lane.
Yeah, I feel like for Huni, you know, they've thrown a lot of top lane bans on him. This time it's definitely seemed to stick. He's gone from having the most assists record on the split. I mean, he was our Rookie of the Year, right? He goes to having, he's 110 and 14 in these 3 games on Lee Sin. That's a 1.5 KDA. His kill participation, 62.5. I mean, it's just so uncharacteristic because they've thrown everything in the kitchen sink at this guy, and he's stuck to the Lee Sin, and I feel like it has to change this game.
It has to change from Fnatic. I can somewhat see what they're trying to do. It's a lot of focus on the early jungling. You can try and create some pressure where you counter jungle the enemy, and you get a small lead that way, and then you like try to create these picks here with the Lee Sin in the late game. But again, the problem is you just don't offer anything other than the potential kick into a kill, and if you don't pull that one off, well, you don't really do a whole lot. H2K are not going to ban it. They're going to ban Rumble, Shyvana, and the Hecarim once again and see if they can keep pushing Huni on this one pick here, the Lee Sin in the top lane. Not expecting too many changes from Fnatic either. Honestly, Maokai has been banned, Lula's been banned in every game from them as well.
Yeah, wouldn't expect any surprises out of the bans this time around. I feel like for Fnatic, and again, they don't have to pick this first, they could just go back to the Lissandra. Yes, it's been not as effective, but it was clearly Huni's next best champion out of all these.
It's a champion that is a lot easier to make big plays on, to pull off in team fights as well. For him, he's going to have a lot more impact in a team fight compared to a tank Lee Sin in that top lane. Unless Fnatic wants to run this double tank setup, well, he has to be able to adapt to something else. I mean, that's the big question, obviously. And we're going to have to wait and see what he picks in this game here. But the question is, can he play all the top laners at a high enough level that he feels confident enough picking it in a quarterfinal if they want to run double tank?
What could be their very last game.
Obviously, now it's all or nothing for Fnatic. If you lose here, you're going to play for 3rd place in Spain next week, but you're obviously not going to have the chance of going to MSI, which is what both these teams here want to do.
Not to mention, you're missing out on a serious amount of the championship.
Yeah, that's very true.
We do see a slight mix-up. Sivir's banned away now from Yarnin. We'll see what H2K want to answer with.
Last time it was a Gragas.
Yeah, and we'd also had like a Thresh first picked. I mean, again, they've neutralized a lot of those must first pick champions, especially in the top lane. I think the Gragas makes a lot of sense here, and they do lock it in immediately.
I really like this Sivir ban from Fnatic. I think it's the key champion for Yarnin because it allows H2K to play the teamfight so aggressively as well. And we know they like to 5-on-5. They're not the team who goes in and kills you one-on-one. They are teamfight focused. And also Sivir offers you this fantastic fast push ability to always pressure these lanes and get damage on the towers and just slowly chip them away. So I think that's a very smart ban from Fnatic. And obviously the Gragas is very predictable. Been the same pick for Lulix every game so far. Last time again where Fnatic did well, they went with the Nunu and Janna combo, and then they took it and gave Steelbike Illusion, where it then turned him into somewhat of a hyper carry late game because he had the buffs of Blood Boil and the Janna shield. I think they should do the same here. Also take that Janna away from Kissing. Or of course they can also switch it up and run more of a hyper carry style on Steelbike itself. But then again, the Janna would have been fantastic for them.
Yeah, but this is also a bit of a denial from Yarnin. I mean, there was that one Jinx game. It wasn't quite as impressive, but I think they're trying to also throw H2K off of picks that they'd be comfortable on, and they get a lot of damage potential out of this Jinx, a lot of mobility thanks to the Thresh as well, and they don't reveal the rest of their strategy. They have some time to think about where they want the mid, the jungle, and the top
And they
lane.
can still go Nunu next rotation because Gragas has already been locked in and we're not expecting it to go anywhere else but the jungle for Lulix. So Fnatic can have a setup here where they really aim to protect Raynova and have a lot of fast pushing abilities on the tower with the Jinx here. And if you have enough protection, if you have a Lantern from a Thresh, that's one thing. But also what Yellowstar can do is invade into the enemy jungle, get down to deep wards, which puts enough protection for the Jinx to start pushing down towers. Because if she's standing there hitting a tower and you have no wards, and a Gragas comes in behind you and shoots you back, or a TP from from the likes of a Sign, I mean, you're dead, that's it. So you need proper vision around it. You need to be able to see if H2K has any wards behind you as well before you set up this Jinx here to start taking down the towers. But once they do, that's where Steelbike can really shine. And that's also one of the reasons they picked Thresh here for Yellowstar. More roaming potential as well than a Janna.
Haven't really seen Febib and Xerath for a hot minute. But it was
completely stopped playing it after 5.5, where there was the nerf to Xerath E, but it's still been a very good pick across nearly all other regions as one of these siege comps you can build, which Jinx would fit in okay with her fast pushing, and then you have Xerath for the long range damage and the wave clear. This is a change if they don't want to run Nunu with Jinx. This could be a top lane Rek'Sai then for... never mind.
Oh, okay, we get to mix it up.
Yeah.
So we get the Rek'Sai lock in. There's also the Vladimir now.
Okay.
So this is a bit different.
Very different. And Fnatic normally likes to save the mid lane pick. They can, of course, put the Vladimir mid lane, so it's a bit of a flex pick. Otherwise, it would go to Huni in the top lane. Very, very different now compared to what Fnatic has been running the last few games. This is a lot stronger in the team fights. Vladimir has become such a strong pick because all these tanks in the late game simply cannot burst him down, so he will always get to sustain back, and he of course scales so well into the late game. Different picks from Fnatic. Suddenly very teamfight focused from them.
Yeah, this will be a very different style of game from them, and it doesn't rely on a really early snowball either.
Yeah.
They have a lot of options. I feel like backs against the wall here, that is what they've got to do. H2K now. Let's see what they decide to go with. Diana was left open, and the Kog'Maw is locked in with it. So a Kog'Maw without the Lulu. Won't see no Juggermaw, but they can still protect him.
And no Janna either, so H2K is running a bit of a strange setup in the sense you have Annie, Sign, Diana who's gonna dive in onto the Jinx in these team fights here, while Yanan only has Odoamne really to peel for him. Well, I guess the Sign also will add in a lot of peel as a big front line, but normally you would have seen a Janna with it to protect it. But this is because if you look at the 4 picks from Fnatic, there's no hard engage. There's no hard engage on their side. There's only a tunnel in from a Rek'Sai into a flash to knock up Yanan. And that's it from Fnatic's side here. So H2K clearly trying to change it up a little bit and saying, we can have people diving onto Fnatic and still have a hyper carry who can match the Jinx in terms of damage late game. And he can sit on his own because there's no engage on the side of Fnatic. It is still a little bit strange. There's nothing to buff him. In this sense, I would much have preferred then. You ran the likes of a Janna, but because they have Diana here as well, you need something that can go in with her.
Oh, okay, so we do have a top Rek'Sai. Or wait, I don't.
No,
wait, hold on a minute.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Vladimir Tobin.
Yeah, that's where they're going to send it.
Think about this one before here, how H2K couldn't take LeBlanc because Zed was an option, with Vladimir already being locked in, so you had the AP top lane, and you could go Zed mid lane. Went for Diana instead and Zed into it. Funny enough, a matchup, a lot of Diana players doesn't really fear too much because you have your shield and you are very strong in the small trades in the laning phase in terms of auto attacks. If you manage to stack up your passive and then you pop your shield here to trade with the Zed, and you can build Hourglass Nash's Tooth as well, which we know Rio likes to do, and then you beat the Zed late game in terms of split pushing. So we're gonna have to see here what Febvin can do. Early on in the lane, I also give it to him, and I think he should be able to control the lane at least. You got the Rek'Sai as well, where Lulix is on the fairly slow Gragas. So the mid lane pressure here is fantastic for Fnatic. If they manage to control that and force Lulix to invest time around it, that means that Vladimir is safe in the top lane to just sit and farm against a Sign who's not gonna kill him in forever, basically. And meanwhile, you got the Jinx Thresh in the bottom lane, which mainly just want to farm in this sense here. And then it's going to be about what can Huni do on a Vladimir suddenly compared to a Lee Sin. I mean, we're talking very different picks.
We will see. But why don't you guys at home let us know if the favors change in this must-win game for Fnatic. Come on! Tweet us at LML Esports with H2K win or FNC win. We're going to check that one out in just a minute. The crowd has not stopped this hype. And here we go, on to the Rift. H2K 2-1 over Fnatic.
And if we really take a look at Fnatic's comp here, there's no tank from them. You're running Rek'Sai, one of their junglers left, which obviously benefits from her early aggression. needs to snowball as a jungler. She gets outskilled by these Cinderhulk junglers like a Gragas in terms of team fights. You have the Vladimir, who's gonna go for Outlast, who's gonna go somewhat tanky in that sense. He might not even go Outlast in this game here. There's quite a lot of magic damage from H2K, but we typically see it. So you're not a massive tank there either. And the only protection there is for him is Yellow Star for Steelback as his Jinx. So late game, H2K has so much to dive onto him and so little to protect him from Fnatic. That's very, very scary.
He runs right into Odoamne here and Lulex as well. He's going to be in some serious trouble. He's going to pool immediately, level 1ing that one, and Rainover runs in.
I want to force him to flash.
Run in interference, and yes, Huni's going to have to pop his flash. Not the greatest way to start your game.
Look at Huni and the player camp here. Not happy about that one. Not the same player we've seen all split long as in this series here against H2K. Anyhow, again, the comp on Fnatic, in order for Febiven to be useful, he has to win his laning phase. Otherwise, the Diana can't beat him late game in split push. So he's not going to offer anything there. And in terms of late game team fights, while there's not a whole lot of protection for Yanan, the QSS will stop Febiven from killing him, and then suddenly you lose your purpose as a Zed. If you cannot split push and win that way, if you cannot dive the backline either, you don't offer a whole lot. And again, there's so little protection for Steelback. If H2K gets a good lead and gets these two tanks rolling, they're gonna make it impossible for Steelback to do anything. So, mid lane matchup as well. Diana can start club 5. Zed will always go for the long sort of 3 potions, and then we just see these early trades here where this is so good for Diana because she can keep getting these hits on the minions, so she stacks up her passive, and then she simply just sits on it and says, okay, you want to come trade with me? I'm going to smack you in the face with my passive every single time. Do a lot of damage on it. Obviously, she's less mobile, which means you can't gank her, which is what we're going to have to see from Rainover. He has to be so active on this Rek'Sai to snowball Fnatic in this early game. Otherwise, because they're not running double tank, they can struggle late in the game.
Let's take a look at how the top's going. He's already still taking some damage. Odoamne got that level 2, of course, after clearing the Wolf camp. Sion style. I'm really curious to see how this one goes. He started with the boots. Boots and pots, I believe it's referred to.
Boots and pots. It is indeed. Well, Odoamne can push the lane in the early levels where Vladimir doesn't have enough damage to really push it back. Obviously, Vladimir scales so well.
You can see it changing already, though. Obviously.
Well, Vladimir scales so well with his levels. You gotta get that level 9 for rank 5 of your Q, lower the cooldown and everything, and the sustain you're gonna offer from it. But it's not a lane where Odoamne is gonna be able to do a whole lot in terms of like, there's no kill pressure really. It's gonna be a bit of a farm fest for him, and we're gonna have to see what the junglers are gonna do instead. We talked about how Rainover has to focus on the mid lane. It's a good way of shutting down Diana. If Diana falls behind, it's so hard for you to do well in fights because you dive in and you're too squishy, you don't have enough damage to really kill anyone. First gank might come in. Rainover is there, so is Lulex.
Looking to collapse here. Febiven already making his escape, but Rhea may not be so lucky. Febiven coming right back on forward. Rainover a little bit low in this one, and they both decide to back it out. Close calls once again. Not as close as we may have seen last game, though.
Yeah, flash blown from Lulex. He's at Gragas. You're not that strong in skirmish. You just offer a whole lot of CC here in the early stages of the game. Now, Rainover is not done. You can see in your minimap, he's staying around this mid lane. They want to try and shut down Ryu early. It is the game plan for them. If Vladimir sits on her own against the Sion, that's fine for them. Just let Huni pick up the farm he can. If Steelback gets a farm lane against Yanan and Kissing on the bottom side as well, that's cool for Fnatic. In this sense, it's the mid lane that has to get the lead.
Mid lane indeed. Takes the tool out. They have been at each other's throats down there, but I feel like it's going to be a couple more levels before it really starts to turn deadly. We haven't really talked about the bot lane too much. It's been pushing in H2K's favor. Rainover's going to start favoring it now. And he moves in, sets up the pink ward, makes sure he's not sighted. Yarnin. Oh, Flash Flay and Ignite from Yellowstar. That means Kasing and Yarnin could be in some trouble, but all that, the damage really wasn't there. But Kasing is now caught on a line who is also going to have to flash his way over the chopper, so they net themselves about 3 summoners for 2.
Yeah, nice little gang from Fnatic, but also well played from H2K. You saw Yanan, he flashed into the minion wave, so the hook from the Yellowstar wouldn't land onto him. Meanwhile, Lulex sees an opportunity to go in for some jungle because Rek'Sai has been spotted on the bottom side of the map as well for him. We keep talking about how this mid lane is the important one. Ryu has the wave in the perfect spot for him. He can't really be ganked this close to the lane. Febiven has to overextend a little bit to try and push it into the tower, and you still have a few potions left to sit there with your cloth armor. So he's always going to go for early arm guards once he goes back to base. Lulex now spotted on the top side. Not a whole lot of kill pressure for him in any lane, honestly, on this Gragas. He should just focus on farming early on here, where Reno is the one who has to make the plays. He might be able to pull it off here.
Gets pushed back though by Kasing, and there is a stun up as well. Reno actually quite low, and he has to back away. So once again, H2K fended off this attempt. Lulex continuing to roll through his own jungle. Rainover will have to take it back as soon as he clears this one.
And the reason Rainover is ganking the bottom lane at the moment is because the mid lane was stuck outside, just outside the tower of Ryu. So there was no ganking opportunity for him there. And therefore had to look elsewhere. And he knows he has to make plays on the Rek'Sai, obviously. And he's been doing it. 3 ganks already, forced quite a few summoners. Just hasn't been able to pull it off completely and get a kill. Lulex keeps looking for something in his top lane against Huni on this Vladimir. Vladimir is going to be fairly risky. Yep. All in though in the mid lane.
Yep, Febiven throws down the death mark, moves in on Ryu, but he doesn't have enough damage to polish him off. Meanwhile, Lulex is going to go ahead and back to base.
Notice how Febiven wasn't going purely for the kill here. He didn't pop any summoners to try and see how low he could get Ryu. Instead, he ulted him to force him back to base, where Ryu can now push in the wave beforehand and deny some farm from Ryu here. That's why Febiven went for the all-in and didn't use any summoners. Just wanted to force him back to base. Try and control the pace and control the back timings in this mid lane here. Ryu will lose just 1 minion. He should be able to return for this cannon here. So not losing a whole lot, and he can now try and push it back the other way and see if he can deny anything from Febiven. Obviously Cutlass as well on the Z here, so you need that for your all-in potential. Always better than Brutalizer when it comes to all-in because of the 100 magic damage you get, and also the lifesteal is super good for you when you have all these traits for farm.
Yeah, you could say the same thing about Huni, although it's spell vamp for him. He has been pushed pretty far back on farm up in that top side. He's going to be uncontested for just a moment. But back in mid, yeah, Febiven, he's going to be the one trying to push back this wave now. And seems like it's going to be this way for a little while unless they check into a brush. H2K hanging 3 members deep here, hoping that Febiven starts to wonder, well, Ryu's already back, so.
I really wish Lulex was just sitting and farming. Your lanes have done a fantastic job avoid dying. Yet you're still behind, even though you haven't pulled off any ganks anywhere. You had the one in mid lane, which was counter gank, you had to flash away. You're sitting 20 CS at the moment, 10 CS behind the Rek'Sai. You're gonna outscale her anyway. Work around vision as a jungler then, and sit and farm, and just try and secure your lanes by placing down a few wards so you spot the Rek'Sai. And otherwise, let them play the game they're playing right now. Yannick Kasing has to be very careful though, they cannot overextend here.
Greyseeker hits Kasing in the back. Yarnin goes down the ooze, gets caught by the hook. They won't be able to take him in.
And once again, H2K do a very good job disengaging. And they're just wasting Rainover's time, who still can just go back and farm though, because Lulex is once again looking for a gank. He's not even level 6 on this Gragas. I want to play like this, pick Nidalee.
Yeah, I was a little bit curious here. Has been a bit of misfiring, I think, on all sides. Huni still having a rough time dealing with Otawamne. Kept up in levels at the very least. And he's got his sustain from the Hextech Revolver.
Yeah, Otawamne has really been controlling the lane so well, always pushing it in, denying farm from Huni, who's clearly missed quite a lot of CS on the tower as well. But it is one of these lanes.
Oh,
wow, he stole it.
Gets one back.
Beautiful steal from him. But
Very
again,
nice.
one of these lanes here, once Vladimir gets level 9, he can really start just sustaining himself in the lane. He can start clearing with the E as well. So he's going to be fine. Obviously, you don't want to fall this far behind. But it's not like Stein is going to have any chance of killing the Vladimir.
No, but he can definitely keep him from farming up for quite a while. So as you mentioned earlier, really a no kill pressure lane. But nonetheless, a lane that is going to be a little bit difficult for Huni, and he's definitely not had the greatest best of 5 as he could have so far. Fnatic will need to get his head back in the game if they want to keep their finals dreams alive.
Lulix has hit level 6 now. He's looking for another one up in his top lane. Rek'Sai is ready for the counter gank. Ryu, oh, he can get jump on.
In. He's gonna try to dash his way out of stage. Oh, the flash too.
Nice,
and he gets popped for first blood. Febivin gets it all.
Gets everything here. Such a nice play from him. Meanwhile, in the top lane.
Oh, to Wamne. There's the Hemo Plague on him as Rainover helps out Huni. Still not enough damage. Huni going really, really low. Lulix coming in for the counter gank. Will he have enough, however? Rainover pops up. Barrel's going to slow him down. The body slam not going to connect thanks to the flash, but they forced the use of it. H2K should be okay with that one.
Yeah. Really, really big plays from Febivin in the mid lane. We know Zed is fantastic for him among nearly every single assassin in the game. But him getting this kill is so important. We've said it time and time again. He's the guy who needs to snowball in this matchup here. He needs to be so much stronger than compared to Ryu, that simply there's no fight to be taken in a split push. And then suddenly the Zed can start dictating the pace of the map because he can push down the waves. He can then roam between the lanes, go for potential dives, or even keep killing Ryu in their one-on-ones. So this is such an important pick for Fnatic. And off to a great start. Winning in farm. You now have Brutalize. You're going to go for that last Whisper as well. Super fit on Zed already.
CS advantage coupled with that kill is definitely going to make it hard for Ryu to trade out. Forget he was able to snipe the blue buff away too, so already frustrating Ryu in this game. Picks up his own now as he gets ready to head back to lane. No dragons have really been eyeballed. It's been about 12 minutes into the game. Like another low kill score so far, but H2K, they want this pace. However, they are falling further and further behind in this time around.
Yeah, that's the thing. Fnatic obviously need items on the Zed first before they can start split pushing with him or roaming between the lanes, and that's what they're waiting for. And then we can see Febivin start simply moving around the map after here, as long as they're doing fine in the other side lanes. Huni is still a little bit too far behind his bot lane, but they're trying another
down. There's the Tippers as well. Kasing and Yarden both run on to the Flame Chompers as Otawamne teleports in to try and push them all back. He's tanking up all the tower damage. And no one will go down there, but it was a close call once again.
Yeah, TP blown now. When he didn't have his, he'd used it back to base beforehand. H2K looking to get this tower down instead. It's what they always like to do around this 12-13 minute mark. You simply make a power play, you invest more members than Fnatic has to defend it, and you just destroy the tower. Now they can either go for a dragon after, or they can decide to reset the whole thing and swap Yana and Kasing to the top side and play against Huni here to get pressure on that tower, and that's how you start aiming for them. But this mid lane is such a big problem. After that kill, Ryu's just falling even further behind. Let's see what happens here. Otawamne's
going to get juked.
Yeah, big time.
And the rest of Fnatic are there, so H2K don't take either option. Otawamne could be in some trouble. He's going to be able to walk away. Lulix may not be quite so fortunate as Huni polishes off a tower in the top. So even though H2K were able to get the tower take there, Fnatic answer back, and now they're in the position to start the dragon.
Yeah, should be able to pick it up. 2 guys recalling from H2K here. 3 guys now. This is going to be a dragon for Fnatic. They got the top tower as well, and nobody died. So they trade towers and pick up a dragon. Definitely in favor of them. Also, look at the wave on the bottom lane. That's going to be pushing up, I believe, towards... Be pushing towards H2K. So that's a wave Otawamne can pick up. And now we see the move from Yanin and Kasing swapping up the lanes a little bit, moving mid instead. There's also what you do sometimes if you fear for your AD carry that he's gonna get ganked and killed, or he's gonna get in like a one-on-one situation against the Zed, then you put him mid lane with his support, and that's a very short lane, so it's easy for you to come down or back down to your own tower, and you can safely sit and farm, or you don't have to worry about being stuck in a side lane and suddenly killed by an assassin who comes in. So that's basically what H2K is doing, and trying to get some pressure on this mid tower at the same time.
They'll be able to do it. Kasing this time barely left Yarnin alone. Small wonder with the Kog'Maw, but it does somewhat hinder what we've seen him doing a lot during the regular split, which was attempting to roam around a lot on this Annie. And H2K, they've definitely changed up their playstyle to adapt to what Fnatic does. I mean, this is one of the reasons why they've been in this situation, despite the first game being anything but ordinary.
Yeah,
They're in a good situation overall, even if this game, this lead is still Fnatic's. They have to deal with the Zed, though.
Yeah, no matter what happens here in this series, in this game, these two teams are just fantastic stories, honestly. Fnatic losing 4 members, only Yellow Stars stayed. Completely new team, a lot of rookies coming in. I mean, Huni was straight out of solo queue in Korea, was on the practice team of Samsung. And that was it, never played OGN or anything. Into the LCS with him, they got Rainover, could be a bit of a translator for him. And then H2K on their side. I mean, Ryu itself, the guy who struggled in Europe to do anything because he simply couldn't communicate properly. And I saw an interview with Prolly where he talked about how Kasing joining was fantastic for the team because Kasing offered so much communication that made it easier for everyone else to play because they didn't have to worry too much about timers and everything because that was Kasing's job. And then the second big thing for them was that Ryu just got better and better at communicating. He got to learn the phrases and the terms you use in the game. And that suddenly allowed him also to become a bit of a shot caller. He used to be one of the main shot callers for KT Bullets when he played in Korea. Now that he can communicate properly, he can make some calls, he can make some plays, and he's super, super smart, and that's helped H2K together with Kasing joining. Suddenly everyone just got to the next level in terms of the shot calling for them, which is what they've been playing around so well the last few weeks.
Right, and it is really, really interesting when you see the trajectories of the two. You know, one team coming out of the Challenger Series, managing to, you know, get as far as they have and on the cusp of making a finals appearance in their debut split. And then Fnatic, a team that, you know, basically reformed under Yellow Star's leadership and has become this whole new power that nobody really expected. I mean, this has just been amazing how the trajectory's gone, but let's see what happens here. Ryu might have bitten off more than he could chew here, but maybe he can find Rainover. Not quite enough. And Rainover is able
meanwhile though,
that one.
Here's the thing, H2K has 3 guys in the mid lane, so they're gonna push in on these towers. Lulek's getting caught.
Tower's down though, Lulek's trying to weigh the rocket. Will whiz by his left ear. All right, I should say. Huni flashing in. Yellow Star's one that is going to pick up that kill, however. Kasing now, Deathmark is on to Yarnan. Enough damage, that will be Kasing is just getting chased around. Febivin comes up with the double kill. And just like that, 3 more members of H2K down, and it might be some tower pushing time.
This is what happens now when you're starting to lose your side lanes. We saw Febivin from that bottom lane. You could just roam freely from the bottom side up to mid lane and join his team. Same happened with Huni in the top lane after the kill onto Ryu here. H2K is suddenly collapsing. And the entire map is now open. You got a 3-0 Z that nobody can do anything against. Meanwhile, even Huni gets it because this is such a good setup by Yellow Star and Steelback. Yes, they lose the tower, but by getting Lulek so low, it's super easy. Look at the minimap now. Huni roam from top lane and then Febivin roaming from the bottom lane. Nothing the members in H2K can do after they already got caught on the tower. And they would just end up dying, all of them.
The single target Tibbers on Huni too. It was a bit of a panic moment, I feel like. There just really wasn't anything that they could do after that. And it was just cleanup city. Rainover was coming around the side anyways. So just like that, Fnatic have gotten themselves out to an impressive lead. There's going to be another minute and 10 seconds until the Dragon comes up. They've already secured the first one. But if Fnatic can keep forcing H2K to start fights, whether they're disadvantageous or not, I feel like they can definitely outplay thanks to Febib and Zed right now.
Oh, for sure.
The rest of the members have been positioned quite well.
Fnatic should just stick to 1-3-1. The Sign is never going to be able to do anything against Zed. It's just a matter of time before Febib might even be able to jump onto Odom and kill him. And then that bot lane tower is suddenly open. Otherwise, you force Sign to sit back and defend his own tower, and you just keep roaming like Febib is doing now. He gets another pick.
Another death mark on to Kasing. This time, the Tibbers lands on him. Febivin shadow steps back. Yarnan, though, is going to be the target. The rocket won't hit him. Meanwhile, a shutdown goes over to Odawamne as he picks off Febivin. Huni is going to finish off Yarnan, however. Steelback trying to move away the Acathian surprise. A ton of damage there, and a double kill comes in for Odawamne. The fight's going haywire. It's been a 2-for-2 so far with a double kill onto Huni, looking for even more, but Ryu wasn't finished off there. And the Praise Seeker doesn't hit either. Misfires in all directions, but maybe they can pick off Odawamne finally. 3 members of Fnatic collapsing on him. The barrel comes out to push him away. Will it be enough to save Odoamne's life?
Oh.
No, it won't, because the hook comes in and he goes down.
So Fnatic in the end here ends up winning the fight. It was a bit harder than expected, but we saw the same play. You push the two side lanes from Huni and Febiven, and then you just roam before H2K to that mid lane here where the fights are starting. Febiven coming in at first. Good stun from Kissing onto him here, stopping a lot of the damage and forcing him to go back. TP behind from Odoamne, but now, as you can see, Huni is about to join, and while they get a good pick on Febiven, damage is running out for H2K. Janan ends up going down, another kill for the Vladimir. And we can see the playstyle from Fnatic and how hard it is for H2K to do anything because they're not strong enough in the side lanes to stop them from just keep pushing them down, push down the minions to roam in mid.
Now that being said, H2K were able to salvage some kills out of that situation. I feel like also they didn't lose as many members. It just seemed that Fnatic misprioritized where they were going. They didn't finish off exactly where they needed to, so Ryu made it out alive after that. But all the same, they secured themselves a dragon here. They're up several kills, they're up several thousand gold. And yeah, it really is. The side lane pressure is not working in H2K's favor until maybe now when Yarnan brings a big wave up there, Kasing at his back, but it looks like we could have a collapse on our hands. Steelback's there to try and push him away, but won't be able to in time.
So what H2K did here is what you have to do if you're falling this far behind and you cannot team fight over objectives, is you trade. So when they go for Dragon, you push the top wave and you take that one down, because there's obviously not enough members to defend it. That's exactly what H2K pulled off here. Problem is, look at your minimap once again. Huni and Febiven is on their way, picking a fight on the way as well.
Oh, Lulex tries to knock him back. Ryu also very low. Febiven has turned his attention there, and now back to the top side. We'll see what can happen as the rocket isn't needed. Febiven comes with a pick on Kasing, but he still gets a kill onto Ryu. Oh boy.
Fnatic is getting everything. They're getting everything. H2K tried to do what they could do here and trade the tower for that dragon. Maybe try and get a second one on the bottom side. But all the kills are going over to Fnatic. They keep roaming around the map. It's all started with this Zed being so strong. Solo killing Ryu in the mid lane. As Dalo is sitting and watching the game as well. We might go to game 5 here, Pyra.
We very
Unless
well
Fnatic managed to mess this one up, then we will go to
Let's see what just happened, though. I mean, that was crazy.
So, Odoamne is stuck in the bottom lane. There's only 4 guys from H2K here. Huni spots them at first. Obviously, 2-on-2 fight is heavily in favor of Fnatic, while the rest of the team will get a pick on the Kasing. He flashes, and then Steelback, I believe it's like, he would almost hit Kasing. Oh, he would actually have hit him. And then he gets another one. And then you get Baron as well for them.
At least Lulex made it up. So Fnatic now definitely controlling the pace of this game. They secure the Baron, of course. Set their sights on the bottom lane as Odoamne runs back to his inner turret. Should be no sweat for Fnatic to mop this one up. Get excited for Steelback, and they keep on moving. See if they can take another tower.
Huni's been getting so many kills here. Despite falling behind in his lane, he's just been able to come down and clean up the fights for himself. Febiven obviously done the same for him. And now you got this Jinx suddenly positioned on a tower where there's no real threat of H2K engaging. And they will just end up dying. It's so
It's
fun.
not a full siege comp, but whenever you have a Jinx and a front line,
it is by no means a siege comp.
Definitely
but yes,
still
you got
siege.
Jinx. I'll give you that. You have the Jinx to push down towers. I mean, the whole setup for Fnatic is that Febiven is going to kill someone one-on-one, and then H2K has to send down a second guy to defend the lane, and then suddenly the Jinx can move into a tower and start hitting it because there's only 3 guys from H2K on that side of the map.
Exactly. They don't need a tanky frontline because they've got so many damage threats that H2K can't go in there safely anyways. Lulex caught on a hook. Odoamne moves forward, but there's a flash out of Steelback as Fnatic regroups to try and still pick away at this tower. We'll see what they're able to get done. Still got the Baron empowered minions here. Hook's gonna connect on Odoamne. They throw down the Flame Chompers. His health bar starts to go down. Not fast enough, however. The siege will continue with the Baron empowered cannon minion.
No flash.
Not quite dead yet.
No flash for Kasing, so he can't start the fight. You have no ulti from Odoamne, so he can't do it either. Lulex is the only one to try and shoot someone back. There's no flash for Steelback. That can be the way for H2K to start it, But it's going to be so hard.
There we go.
Fnatic, yeah. Huni.
He went around the side. He is able to force H2K back. They take themselves another tower. Godmode sends out a big Roar of the Slayer to try and push them and push a minion back into him. Fnatic, I think, have had enough for now. They will back to base with a lot of gold in their pockets.
A lot of gold, and still a Zed that can do whatever he wants on the map. Nobody can stop Febiven in this game here. They won't be able to for another 10-15 minutes at least. Diana will eventually do well, but not when you've been set this far behind, as Rio has here in this game. Lulex as well is playing this super weird on the Gragas. Just the early game for him, he kept looking for ganks when he had no lanes to gank properly. Like, you don't have to try and force a play, just farm. And yeah, I mean, he has the Syndol completed, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, and he built it on a Hunter's Machete too. It's even stranger if he was trying to go for ganks. The fact that he let himself get so far behind to Rainover when Rainover wasn't being super effective to start this one off is a little strange. We'll see what happens here, though. Godmode goes in, gets caught on the retreat path and pulled in, but he flashes. May not live, though. The rocket hits him in the back of the head. He'll try to cause some havoc as the rest of Fnatic move forward, but Yellowstar might have been a little bit too hasty. Godmode's secondary will finally go down as Ryu chases through, steal back, and it's going to be Lulex picking him up, but Ryu not quite done just yet. Lulex trying to bait a little bit more out as Yellowstar is fighting with Ryu here. He's gonna be able to pick him off though. Just enough health reserves, and it is a 4-for-1 going over to Fnatic. Daylor cracks a smile after that fight. I would too.
He's ready for game 5 now, and I think Fnatic has finally realized that Lee Sin top is not the way to go for them. Looking a lot better in this game here. Obviously the entire early game has been in their favor, with starting with Febiven being an absolute monster on this Zed. Still chasing Lulex. Run around for a while.
Not if he's on the hook, but he does juke Rainover for just a minute. There's Lulex going down. Took him a little while. Meanwhile, Dragon's back up. So now Fnatic, again, this will be their third. But let's see this fight again.
We see here why Thresh with Jinx is so good, because you offer her this escape tool with the Lantern so she can get out of bad situations. And now, Godmode just caught. There's nothing you can do at this point. You get to execute in the very end from Steelback. Gets excited. And while Ryu can dive on and kill Steelback here, the rest of the team, I mean, if you look at the back here in H2K, they're just going to get destroyed by Febiven and Huni in the end. Even gets all the minions for himself.
Farming while fighting. That's what you call multitasking, Deficio. Yeah, with that, they pick up another Dragon. That is their number 3. As Febiven has a little chuckle. They know. They suspect strongly that this is going to another game. 28.5 minutes in. Fnatic holding a massive edge over H2K.
And really not a whole lot H2K can do at this point, because you need time. It's the only way of starting winning fights later is by getting tanky enough on the Gragas and the Scion. Getting Yarnan obviously up to a point where he can become a hyper carry, and Fnatic's not going to give you that time. They can start setting up Barons, force you into a team fight there, give you over the Baron, and then suddenly your base is going to be open because you still can't do anything against the Zed. So H2K now has to start deciding, when do we just switch off and discuss what's going to happen in the last game. The all-important one. H2K will be on the red side, Fnatic will be on the blue side. And last time that happened, we had a Nunu first pick from them, from Fnatic side. We saw the Gragas again from Lulex. None of the first picks has been the big ones in this series here. Nobody has had that one pick.
Oh, Yarnan.
That was super needed, and yeah. I think he was walking in to try and scrying up on the Baron.
Now, Baron's still a few seconds away. It looks like that won't be for much longer. Fnatic immediately turned for it as they've scared H2K senseless. They only need 3 members here. They've got enough damage between Steelback and Rainover. Yellowstar is going to pull his way in as well. It's just starting to evaporate very quickly. They've got the split going from Febiven on the bottom side. Yeah, definitely H2K thinking about this next game more than anything else. We'll see how that one does go, but for now, it continues. They've got a Baron buff. Febiven actually cancels his back here. He still turns around because he sees the many members of H2K coming up through the lane.
Game was very even in the early game. until Febivent got that one kill. That was really what started the whole snowball. Because suddenly Fnatic were forcing plays in other lanes. And with that play H2K made in the bottom side where they teleported down with Odoamne to take the tower, Huni got a lot of farm, got a tower in the top lane as well from it, and suddenly these outer turrets just started falling. And H2K ran out of options and were forced into fights by Fnatic.
Yeah, and it just kind of started snowballing from there. They've been able to amass themselves a serious gold lead in this one. Well over 10,000, about 16 at this point. And counting, Steelback just gobbles up farm through the H2K jungle. They set their sights on the top lane. Let's see what they can get done here. Things getting bumped down, Steelback. Yellowstar in the front, gathering up a little bit of aggro, and let's see what they can make happen here. H2K in mass to defend. There are Baron empowered minions here. He's going to take a little bit of damage. Flame Choppers are down to deter Yarnan from going any closer. Staying on rocket form. Steelback still gets some serious damage, but he takes a lot in return.
This is the chance now for
This
H2K.
is the chance. Hemoplague's been thrown down. Huni going really low as he pulls away, hoping to get out from Ryu, but he's going incredibly low. Lulex, he could go down. Yes, he does. It's Rainover picking it up, and he's running wild in the back. Huni has managed to stay alive. Febiven gets the Tibbers on him as he flashes forward to try and pick up Kasing and avoid the Acathian surprise. And it's a double kill going over to Rainover. Odoamne caught in a hook, forced to retreat from his own base. Fnatic train wrecking through H2K's base, and 32 minutes into this game, we'll see how it goes with the rest of the Nexus turrets falling, but Deficio, Fnatic out really wanting this one. Looks like we're going to game number 5.
Yeah, and unlike that game 2 where Fnatic still managed to win, they did fall slightly behind to H2K in the mid game, then came back. This game here was all about Fnatic. From that first spot in the mid lane from Febivent, H2K had no chance. They were so far behind from that. Not a single time in this game did we have what we consider a very close fight. I mean, I guess there was the one in mid lane, ended up in a 3-for-2, but that was it. Like, there's no situation where we were like, okay, H2K has a chance to get back in the game here now. Get back in the game. No, Fnatic, they controlled everything. All led by Fibrin on the Z here. Last picked, obviously, into Diana.
This is such an important thing for Fnatic too, because this is the first time in the series that they have totally controlled a game, and it's really, really worth it for them to get that right before the last game, because you build the momentum. You start making maybe H2K question some of their own choices, not necessarily the picks. I mean, I feel like Godmode was a bit debatable, but importantly, Huni managed to pick a champion that he was able to play very comfortably. He did look a little worried to start the game off.
Yeah.
But it still was very, very effective in conjunction with the Fed Z. I guess there's probably not a lot that isn't, but it worked a lot better than Lee Sin.
Yeah, that's for sure. A lot better in the team fights, but so will nearly everything in the game. Yeah. Still, what does H2K do now? You're back on the red side, so you have the last pick, which means if Z comes in from Fibivent here as his pick. Now, I don't know if we have an Urgot pick from the likes of Rio, but that would have been fantastic into Z. So that is what we have seen from other teams in other regions where like you cannot blind pick Z anymore because there are counters like Urgot who will beat him in lane. I'm not sure if that's an option for H2K. Otherwise, if the Z comes in as a blind pick, we're going to have to see where Rio plays into it. He can go for the same matchup, but the problem was he fell behind, mainly also due to Rainover coming in twice with some ganks that really gave quite an edge to Febivent, but he fell behind in farm, and then he died one-on-one, purely nothing else, just an outplay from Febivent. That cannot happen again, because then you're going to lose the game. Yeah.
Well, with that said and done, we've wrapped up 4 games so far, guys, but we're going to be heading to number 5 now for a look at how we got all the way there. We're going to send it over to Shox and company at the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Pyra. Yes, we're going to a Game 5. That's exactly what we want in a semi-final. And, well, Fnatic very convincingly bringing it to Game 5. And picks and bans absolutely crucial. And one pick in particular from the side of H2K, we had a lot to say about that. Godmode.
Well, let's start by talking about the Godmode and Dentist. And as I said, I know you really disliked it.
Yeah, I don't like the Godmode at all. Like, especially it was picked last rotation. And with what has been picked before and what was build up by H2K, that just doesn't scream like a Kog'Maw. The Kog'Maw in that situation has no protection. The Annie and the Kog'Maw has no lane dominance, and that is everything you want with the Annie lock-in. So you want Graves, you want strong laners, you want Draven. I want Draven. But Graves Annie is a lane that just 100% works. The Kog'Maw offers nothing, as we can see on the screen now. We have Zed, we have Huni on Vladimir, we have Rek'Sai, we have the Thresh. Whoever gets onto that Kog'Maw will kill him. If they make a pick on Kog'Maw, that guy is dead, and they have no protection whatsoever coming in for the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, especially when you look at the rest of the comp. Everything wants to dive in. There is nothing holding Kog'Maw's hand. I do want to touch on Fnatic. I do think they need some praise, despite it being very late in the series. They adjusted their jungle pick to something that Reignover has done excessively well with during the regular split. And very importantly, Huni moves away from a non-smite top laner, a non-tank top laner, and lo and behold, he has a fantastic game. He was forced to flash early, start W on Vladimir. He still bounced back and got into a fantastic position. We've talked about Huni's champion pool several times during the split, and it's showing in this series as well. When he's on a carry, AP, mage, damage dealer, he does well. When he's on a tank, utility, team-based champion top, he doesn't perform to the same level.
Yeah, troll pool to expand the champion pool. And just a quick stat, 12 AP champions picked for Huni in the regular season. Fnatic went 9-3 with it, and it shows how comfortable he is.
I absolutely believe if they would have gotten the Vladimir, the Lissandra, anything else, 1 or 2 games earlier, this series would already been over. The Lee Sin didn't work, Huni had no impact on the games whatsoever, and we saw what that guy is capable of doing if you give him what he needs. The Vladimir, flawless.
Yeah, and he also looked incredibly comfortable on it and the way he moved on it. Let's pull one of the replays up on the screen showcasing, I think, showing how the Kog'Maw, if you get caught out of position, it's not going to go well for you.
Yeah, just before this team fight, they'd also been able to kill Ryu up top, and the teleport from Huni to come down to the middle lane. Look how easy Huni's just going to run Kasing and Hyanin down.
That's what you want to do as a Vladimir. You want to come in the flank, and as we can see, insane skills by Huni. He does the flank perfectly, pulls in, pulls out the R, and then just kills them. With Zed and Vladimir coming from the flank, there's not much to do for the carries.
No, definitely not. And I also think we have to give a couple of minutes to Febiven. Again, it's the swing in the mid lane where either Ryu or Febiven just grabs control of the entire match. It took Febiven 2 or 3 attempts before he was able to solo Ryu, and I'm saying that like it's a bad thing. It is a favorable matchup. It's one that he played well, and the moment there was an item advantage, Febiven pressed it home, got a kill solo in lane, and then just ran away with the match.
Yeah, Zed was banned away from him 10 times in the regular season. It actually wasn't banned out in any of the previous games or in the semifinal, but just shows that how adaptive you have to be and how many things you have to keep into account when you're in a best-of-5 series, that you forget that Febiven's Zed is still up and how he does on that. Looking at some other things, our featured matchup wasn't in the mid lane, it was in the bottom lane. And for me, looking at the entire split since Kasing came in, it is actually surprising that in the first game he was absolutely dominating on Annie, but we haven't seen that same level of control out of him in the other games.
Not entirely, and I don't really know why not, because he transitioned to the Thresh. So as you said, game 1, Kasing put H2K on their back and did well. Then the Thresh didn't land hooks. Similarly for Yellowstar, he was not super impactful in games 1 and 2 or even 3 to an extent, but this matchup, death sentence after death, at the mid game, despite what Huni and Febiven were doing, a lot of those kills and setups was thanks to the fact that Yellowstar was, soloing people one after the other. I think there was a chain of 4 or 5 hooks in a row that he landed.
Yellowstar understood what he had to do as, obviously understood what he had to do in the Thresh. He's an excellent Thresh player, but he gave Jinx what he needs, the escape, the reliable escape with the Lantern, and he did it perfectly in almost every single team fight that came into the mid game. He made the picks, he did the peeling. It was just free damage for Steelback all team fight long. You can't do it any better. While Kasing, in this series so far, dominating first game performance, then in the loss, rather non-existent, and then going on to the series, not a huge factor.
This is the first game from picks and bans. You could look at the team comps and go, okay, let's exclude Lee. I very heavily favor Fnatic's comp because of the Kog'Maw, because of the options that it would have to actually solo him out. And the other interesting thing is every single team that has picked blue side has lost their respective game. So, games 1-3 was Fnatic's choice. They lost 2 and 4 H2Ks. They lost. The red side ability to counterpick is showing up in this particular series more than it has in the past, and it's just an interesting trend to keep track of.
Yep, and very interesting going into game 5, the counterpicking and picks and bans. And I have the feeling that Fnatic, with this good adaptation in Vladimir, it will free them up so much because either H2K has to go ban out of Vladimir or not ban out of Vladimir and let him have it and leave out some of the other things that they've banned out before, like a Hecarim, like a Rumble, like a Shyvana, and then Fnatic will be able to go for that, and I feel like they are in a very good position for that game 5.
Yes, they absolutely are. Like, if you ask me, the Vladimir ban is highly likely coming in. And if you want to ban the Vladimir, you have to sacrifice one of the others. If you're H2K, you saw Fnatic running that's my teleport top laner in 3 games. And in 3 games, it was almost a non-factor.
Yeah.
So looking at the ban so far for H2K, what top laner are going to take out? It will be the Shyvana, if you ask me. And then it comes all down. How good is the Shyvana? How impactful can Huni be in that game as a Smite teleport top laner? And what does H2K do against that? It's all mental now.
Yeah, I think so too. The momentum is shifted in Fnatic's favor quite heavily. The fact that there's heavy top lane focus as far as bans are concerned now has to add in the threat of the Vlad. The other 2 outside of Shyvana that H2K have banned in every single game was Rumble and Hecarim. And we know how terrifying Huni can be on those champions. So the only thing that is theoretically stopping Fnatic from winning Game 5 is themselves. If they get themselves baited into this mindset that a Smite TP top lane is the only way to go, it might not work because it hasn't been super impactful yet.
Yeah, and the thing we've seen the trend continue that H2K does have to be pretty far ahead, and if they fall behind versus a team like Fnatic, there's not much they can do. So how should they be looking at this next game? Should they be looking at more aggressive picks?
It's really tough, right? Because the average game time of this entire series is 33 minutes and 59 seconds. It's 34 minutes, which tells you a couple of things. The teams are very good at closing the match out. Whichever team gets ahead finishes it. They don't dawdle. They don't run to 40, 50 minutes and give their opponents a chance to come back. Secondarily to that, the team that gets ahead early wins. So by 10 or 20 minutes on the clock, whichever team has a lead, according to our last 4 games, is going to close this one out. Just as a quick aside, I think Fnatic's got the momentum. I think Fnatic are in a stronger position based on how the strats have gone out. And also Ryu has brought the curse with him. When he was playing KT Bullets in the old OGN, he would go 2-0 up and then lose the subsequent 3 games. They went 2-1 up and now they're losing subsequent. So history may be repeating itself.
I want to see the clash of the early game teams. I want to see Fnatic versus H2K, as I know. No Smite teleport, please. No Godmode that scales into the late game. I want to see early game aggression all over the place, and I want to see a game closing out at 30 minutes with the better team winning. I think it's going to be Fnatic. They have the momentum. They have everything what they need, and they are very stable when it comes to the mentality. So I give it to Fnatic.
Yeah, what did we always used to say? Everyone fights everyone, and in the end, Fnatic wins or gets to the finals. We'll see what happens. It all comes down to Game 5. The winner goes to the Spring Finals, and the loser can only hope for 3rd place at best. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Couple mechanical misplays, but decision making, we're doing really, really good shot calls. So it's like, how's like the energy? Are you guys like level excitement?
It's fine, I think.
Yeah, because it's been showing. You guys are doing really, really good calls.
Ryu, oh, he can jump
goes
on.
in. He's gonna try to dash his way out of stage. Oh, the flash too.
Nice
He gets
first
popped for
blood.
first blood. Huni flashing in. Yellowstar is one that is going to pick up that kill, however.
Nice. Really nice.
Steel back, trying to move away the Acathian surprise, a ton of damage there, and a double kill comes in for Otawamne. The fight's going haywire. Not quite done just yet. Lulex trying to bait a little bit more out as Yellowstar is fighting with Ryu here. He's gonna be able to pick him off though. And 32 minutes into this game, Fnatic really wanting this one. Looks like we're going to game number 5.